Welcome back, everybody. John Roses here, Washington, D.C. Hello, TikTok. Hello, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, everybody else, LinkedIn, you name it. How's everybody this evening? Boom. All right, got my TikTok set up. So welcome, everybody. As you know, this is our daily Ukraine update. I will update on the latest news, the last 24 hours, what I think matters and why. First, as always, we'll hang out for maybe 4 or 5 minutes, just to give folks a chance to. Oh, the mic. I will never, maybe I'll just do this without a mic. There are people in the world who can't hear, and they get by. Think of your privilege. Oh my, sorry. I keep forgetting my mic. Although I keep reminding, the irony is, originally I kept forgetting the TikTok mic. And now I always remember the TikTok mic, but I forget the other mic. So, oh well. Anyway, hello everybody. Oop, I'm going to slide this over a tad. That's all right for the mic. That works. It works. There we go. Cue the Russians. I know, the Russians should be flying in. They've been quite vigilant lately. Oh, I'm going to shut the curtain behind me too. Hold on. This is what I don't like is when the light changes, then it messes up the lighting. Hang on. And that is why I closed the curtain behind me. Because actually I noticed in one of the first broadcasts I did that every time the light would change, the room lighting would change, and it was so distracting. Yes, these are my chubby shorts, not to be confused with fat man shorts, because not like that. The company's called Chubbies, which is really weird, but they make nice shorts that are cheaper than some of the other ones. Oh, I don't know, Thomas. I got to think about it, whether we're going to have a January 6th a watch party. As I said, folks, we hang out a couple minutes first, if anybody's new, just to give people a chance to get here. Russia losing is so gnarly, dude. Exactly. We're going to wait a couple more minutes just to give folks a chance to arrive. So that's why we're not doing the update yet. I got to decide if I'm doing a watch party. The thing is, the watch parties go long because the hearings are always at least 2+ hours. Chubbies do have cool patterns. Yes. I am going to talk about Elon and Twitter. But I don't know. Let's see. The problem is that they go long. And even if I don't have to talk, kind of just paying attention to everything on the screen and the TV becomes rather exhausting to then do the show at night too. Actually, one of them is prime time. The Thursday one I think is prime time. So I'm going to oh, Ryan, that's okay. I understand. Some people do have a life. Go enjoy yourself. The Rogers Network. Oh, is that an internet network in Canada? Interesting. Oh God, I didn't even pay attention to Biden's executive order today. I should have. So I haven't even read up on it to see if it's real or not. So anyway, like I said, we'll wait another minute or two. Yep. I'm going to start talking about Abe, about Twitter and those kind of issues. And then we'll jump in with the Ukraine news. So, thank you, Great Cy. I'm going to call you Great Cy. Great CFI for that. I'm going to talk about Russia pausing its operations. Everyone's asking me, I'm telling you, I come prepared. I've got all those on my list. I should not have internet issues. The Canadians have internet issues, I'm told. Yeah, exactly. Actually, you mean read off a teleprompter like Donald Trump? Is that who you meant? You do know that every president reads off a teleprompter, including your God Lord Saint? Yes, they all do. I even Googled it and found lots of examples. Trump even had a really huge one. But again, it's no embarrassment because they all do that to give speeches. Because the problem is, Kalispera. The problem is, if you're giving a speech, either you're doing this, because mind you, I have notes. So some of it's reading and some of it I go, oh yeah, it gives me an idea what to talk about. If you're reading a speech and you're literally sitting here going, it's boring to watch somebody read a speech. If somebody's reading it like this, they can fool you a little bit because the way the teleprompters work nowadays, the really good ones are those see-through ones that you'll see a lot of the politicians using. And literally,
you're going to see two panes of glass in front of them. And originally you might actually think it's bulletproof glass. It's not. You can see through them, but the way they work is to the president or whoever, that pane of glass, they can read their speech on it. It's like reflected on it. So they actually see the words, but you from the audience just see two panes of glass and you go, oh, is it bulletproof? What is that? So there you go. All right, guys, I think I'll start with exactly, we're talking about the teleprompters, but every president does. Yeah, that's what I said. Trump did. I even Googled it. Reagan did. They all did. And I'm going to start with Musk. Don't worry. So yeah, I guess I'll start to give you guys the background of how this works. So I'm going to start by giving you the news, and then we will jump to question and answer about anything I haven't talked about, anything I've talked about you want to talk more about. On TikTok, because TikTok no longer provides the Q&A box in the lives they used to, you've got to go to my profile page. And here, I'll show you guys. I haven't shown you guys in a bit, but I know some people are new and it gets confusing. If you go to my TikTok profile, you will see, I'm going to get really close. You see there is something that says Q&A. See, Q&A. You click the Q&A button and voila, you can leave a question. So that's how you leave questions for me. On the rest of you, of course, use the comment box. And if you do the super chat questions, I promise I will always try to get to those as the next thing I talk about, even if we're in this part of the news section, as a thank you for doing those, because those make nice gifts for me and my dog. So thank you for that. Actually, yeah, last thing is, yeah, you guys. So you guys on TikTok as well. I like and appreciate the gifts you do. So thank you for that. And I will try to thank you if I see you doing the gifts live while I'm talking. And otherwise, somebody maybe can explain the whole Sasha News Network logo thing we've got. Thank you, Miss Mickey, for that. It's just another way of contributing, basically, which is why some of the folks have SNN next to them. All right, guys, let's get rolling here. Thank you for the Borg appendages there. So the breaking news right before I came on, thank you, Patty, is Elon Musk. Oh, and Ashley, you guys are doing a ton of TikTok's going crazy here. Is Elon Musk just pulled out of the deal to buy Twitter, like in the last half hour or so. What is interesting about it is, and thank you, Netlin, for that, it's not clear if Elon can pull out. So what the deal was, it was like $44 billion. Thank you, Elle, for that. $44 billion. Elon was raising some issues about, how many bots, meaning fake accounts, does Twitter have? And Twitter does have a lot of fake accounts. Thank you, Estat and Grandma, for those. Twitter does have a lot of fake accounts. And he was trying to raise, and Twitter said, well, we can't give you access to all of our proprietary information unless you do own the company. So Musk claims he wasn't happy with how things went, and he pulled out. The problem is the contract they signed says that either party can pull out if there's a significant, a major change in the business. Meaning TikTok, before Musk buys it, says, oh, we're no longer going to be a social media company. We're going to be a meal delivery company. And Musk goes, well, I'm not buying a meal delivery company, right? Well, that didn't happen. So there's a real legal issue as to whether Musk can even do this. Twitter would have to sue him. Now, Twitter could turn around. Well, first, Twitter could sue him, hoping just to get more money out of him, right? Thank you, Netlin, for that. Twitter could sue him because they really want him to go through with the deal. Who knows, right? I mean, part of the problem for Twitter is they've got a fiduciary duty to their stockholders. So in other words, they've got to do what's in the best financial interest of their stockholders. And I'm not a big fan of Elon Musk buying Twitter, but maybe financially for stockholders, it makes sense. I don't know. Right. So that's the one issue for Twitter. For Musk, what he's got to consider, but he already has, if he does pull out of the deal, there's a provision that says he's got to pay a $1 billion with a B dollar penalty. But he doesn't really care about that. In any case, that's the later with Twitter. I hope to God he doesn't buy it. Twitter's been amazing the last several years with all the trolls gone, and I really don't want the trolls back. There were neo-Nazis. There were all sorts of crazy people. It was really bad. It was really bad. So anyway, that's a good thing. Everybody by now already knows about the assassination of the former Japanese Prime Minister, Shinzo Abe. It happened last night, U.S. time. It was something like 11:30 a.m. Japanese time. Again, I'm not sure what time it was last night here. It might have been 8, 9 p.m. Eastern time, US, something 10 p.m. Eastern time. 41-year-old gunman. He made his own homemade shotgun, which is crazy. Gun control, guns basically aren't allowed in Japanese society. They have very strict gun rules. As a result, and this was actually very interesting. A number, you can imagine anytime there's anything dealing with guns, you can imagine who shows up in my comments. It's a joy. They do the Russians proud, the folks who show up. Well, they showed up, and of course, all of them did the the Japanese had gun control, and gun control didn't work. So obviously, gun control doesn't work because blah blah blah. Well, I went and looked up the statistics, and very interesting. Listen to this. In 2001, Japan, that has half the population of the US, okay? The US is like 330 million, so Japan is like 170 million, something like that. Japan has half the population of the US. They had 1 gun death last year in the entire country. 1. Guess how many the US has gun deaths on an annual basis? 45,000. Now, I don't have the actual, what was the quote somebody said that basically, Japan has the number of gun deaths in a year that the US has in 2 hours. That was it. 2 hours of US gun deaths equals 1 year of Japan. So 1 gun death in Japan in a year, 45,000 in the US. They have half the US population, so make it 2 gun deaths in Japan if you want 45,000 in America. So yeah, it sounds like the gun control actually does work. Final little thing before I jump into Ukraine insurrection news. A new poll came out from Pew. Pew they're just very respected. They're a charitable trust. Hard to explain what they do. Independent, objective, very trustworthy. They did a new poll, and in one of the previous polls they did maybe a year ago, they asked Republicans how many felt that the insurrection, the attack on our Capitol on January 6th, was a legitimate protest. And a year ago, it was in the 40 percentile, 45%, something like that, which is still pretty bad. I mean, 45% of Republicans thinking the violent attack on our Capitol was legitimate. Today, the number is 61%. 61% of Republicans. Bye, Ben. Ben's leaving the building. Now, that would be an example of somebody we can block. Oh, actually, one of you maybe already did it. Yeah, Ben's leaving. Bye, Ben. Bye. So there you go. All right, let's jump to Ukraine now. So what do we got first? So Zelensky was interviewed with Wolf Blitzer on CNN. I've got little bits of stuff here, but basically Zelensky was asked by Wolf Blitzer, would you be willing to give up land for peace? Give up land to Russia in exchange for a peace treaty. Zelensky said, Ukrainians are not ready to give up their lands as new territories of the Russian Federation. This is our land. We have always said this, and we will never give it up. So sounds kind of definitive. Russia has instituted an operational pause in their operations in Ukraine. Little hard to figure out what this means. And I say that because it doesn't mean that they've stopped all attacks, right? They're still bombing the hell out of everything that they can with their cruise missiles and things like that. It does mean that they have slowed down sort of the rate of going on the offensive. They're still fighting in eastern Ukraine, right? So they're still trying to take over towns there, but they basically wound down a lot of their operations because they're trying to get new men in to replace the men who are tired and get in new equipment. But as I said, it doesn't mean they're stopping entirely. Now, I want to read a little bit. What was here? Yeah, let me read a little bit from the Institute for the Study of War, the think tank that we really like here in DC. Russian forces have not ceased active hostilities during this operational pause and are unlikely to do so. Russian forces still conduct limited ground offenses, so they're limited, meaning they will conduct some, but not on a large scale, and air, artillery, and missile strikes across all of Ukraine. Russian forces will likely continue to confine themselves to small-scale offensive actions as they rebuild forces and set conditions for a more significant offensive in the coming weeks or months. So it means they've slowed down a little bit for now. But oops, let me see here. What is Daniel saying? Operational pause means that the many strikes on ammo depots have been effective. Now that's part of it. Yes. That actually, it's that, and frankly, what the experts are saying, the Ukrainians have done a good job taking out the ammunition, so that basically it's been harder for the Russian troops to even fire anything. But also, the Russian troops are exhausted. A lot of them are killed. A lot of them are injured. They've been fighting now for 5 months straight, and they're exhausted. And they haven't replaced them with fresh troops. They don't have a lot of fresh troops to replace them with, to be honest. So that's what's going on. President Biden today announced that the U.S. is going to send 4 more of the HIMARS medium-range rocket systems to Ukraine. That would bring the total the U.S. promised to 12. There are, I believe, 4 on the ground. Another 4 are arriving this month. This would be another 4 after that. The Brits, as I said previously, have sent 3 or 4 themselves. The Brits are sending, I think, another 4 on top that the Norwegians helped them out with, and there may be some other ones from Germany. I don't recall. The total number, though, this still gets us now to maybe 20 that have been promised. There's 9 on the ground. Well, 9, this and some other kind of an artillery or something else that they've got. There's 9 of them on the ground. The good news is that they've been quite effective. That the reports are from Ukraine, and I'll give you some more tonight, but I gave you some of these last night. Thank you, Louis, for that. That the Ukrainians have been doing a really good job blowing up the logistics of the Russians, particularly going after their ammunition. As who was it, Daniel or PB? Somebody just mentioned the ammunition. They've been doing a great job. So that's been really important. These are going to help them do even more. Let me see here. Oh, the other thing, and this is considered a first, I guess we did not offer these before. Biden said he's going to be sending precision-guided shells for the M777 155 milliliter howitzers already in use by Ukrainian troops. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but are the precision, actually, you guys tell me, are the precision-guided shells, I tried Googling this and I couldn't really get a straight answer. I was getting just a lot of stories across the board. Are precision-guided shells the ones that are fired and then, you can change the trajectory a little bit in flight? Is that how it works? Just because I think this is interesting, actually, just to tell folks. As I said, I Googled, but I couldn't get an answer. Okay, Flatline Crack is saying yes. Because I think we had talked about these maybe a month or 2 ago, and somebody had weighed in via the YouTube, et cetera, folks. And I believe they were saying that, yeah, it's not like it can do a U-turn or something, but whether it's got fins on it or something that you can kind of guide it a little bit as it's going. So anyway, that's good. It's good. So GPS correction in flight. Oh, well, okay. That is good then. I mean, so GPS guidance. Yep. Okay. It can only change about 10 degrees though. There you go. Thank you, Marcy. That's what I was wondering. Okay. It's automatic self-radar and sort of redirects itself to a target. That's not bad though. So basically what that sounds like is that as it's flying, something is doing, the GPS is doing an analysis of whether it's on trajectory or not as it's flying. Could be wind, it could be other stuff. And therefore it can do little course corrections that can help correct it being off target. Okay. That's interesting. No, then that is good. It's good. The Canada caved. It's very rare that we have negative Canada news anywhere, ever. But nonetheless, we've got some negative Canada news today. So Germany, move over. Despite Ukraine opposing Canada handing over the turbine, remember Canada was making this turbine for the Russian gas producer, and it got caught up in the sanctions, and Canada said, we're not sending it. So the Russians turned around and started cutting off gas to Germany to punish them, right? Thank you, Makeaway. So they started punishing them, remember? Well, the Germans put pressure on the Canadians, and the Canadians caved and are giving the Russians the part. And the Russians have then said they will increase gas supplies to Europe once the turbine is restored. So, thank you, El, for that. it's unfortunate. I mean, I appreciate, Canada had no power today. Yeah, somebody mentioned the utility, but I thought it was internet. I didn't realize it was power itself. Wow, that's bad. It's the thing is, I'm sympathetic to a degree. Okay, I would wish that the Europeans could bite the bullet, but it's a big deal. It's a lot of natural gas is a big deal for Germany, and potentially could throw the country into a recession. I mean, it could make people unemployed. I mean, it could be a big deal. So I'm not unsympathetic. I just, as we discussed yesterday, I don't believe the Germans anymore. I don't believe the German government on anything anymore. So I have no way of knowing whether this natural gas thing would really be a crisis or not, or how big of a crisis it would be, because I don't believe them anymore. They've been lying throughout this whole thing. So, maybe. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but I don't. In Kherson, this was good, actually. Kherson, the town and also oblast. Oblast being the Ukrainian word for maybe province, maybe state, maybe county, depending how you want to consider it. So Kherson here, the province is the area here occupied by the Russians. They have had a really good, my voice is being goofier today. It was much better yesterday. They have had a very robust partisan movement, meaning, as we said, Wolverines, but meaning, French resistance, right? This kind of thing. So citizens that are working secretly with Ukrainian intelligence behind enemy lines. Well, they've been killing a lot of collaborators. I mean, a lot of them there. The resistance movement is a big deal in this area of Ukraine. And they just killed an ex-police officer who was collaborating with the Russian proxy government, the occupiers. No word on how he was killed, since before they did a lot of these with bombs, but nonetheless, another good sign that they're doing quite well with that. Ukraine, this is good too. Ukraine hit another Russian ammunition depot in the Kherson Oblast again. According to an advisor to the governor, Ukraine hit a Russian ammunition depot in Russian-occupied Nova Kakhovka on July 8th, which would be today. A spokesman for the oblast says that some equipment had been destroyed and several dozen Russian troops had been killed. In addition, this is additional partisan activity. So partisans also have been blowing up railways near Melitopol. Melitopol is here, okay? Also occupied by the Russians, Melitopol. So right here, tip of my finger. And they've been blowing up a lot of railways, which have apparently been important because it's one of the ways the Russians get supplies from Crimea, which is the territory they stole from Ukraine in 2014, right? They've got the railways coming up here and then going through Melitopol, which is right here. So by blowing up the railways around Melitopol, you're blowing up Russia's ability to bring supplies from Crimea up and then feeding anything over here, really, right? So some examples here. What we've got here. The Ukrainian Resistance Center reported that Ukrainian partisans blew up a railway bridge about 25 kilometers north of Melitopol on July 7th, which would be yesterday, likely further obstructing Russian resupply efforts from Crimea. Ukrainian partisans had previously blown up a rail bridge near, really, doesn't really matter. You're not going to know the town. Yulia would know the town. Nobody else is going to know the town. The Ukrainians would know it. Nobody else would. I'll say it for the Ukrainians. Lyubimivka. I sound like I'm Jewish. Lyubimivka. I feel like I'm scolding you, a Jewish grandpa. Between Melitopol and Tokmak on July 3rd, and derailed a Russian armored train carrying ammunition near Melitopol on July 2nd. So very good. They've been doing a lot of work against the trains, which is fabulous. This was interesting too, actually. A former NATO commander, General Breedlove, who is just one of the retired generals who's been speaking out a lot about Ukraine, giving advice, all of that. Breedlove, and I'm going to show you this because I actually went and did some research on this. Breedlove is saying that the Ukrainians could deal a devastating blow to the Kremlin by attacking the Kerch Strait bridge linking mainland Russia with Crimea. That bridge is actually, here's the town of Kirch. Okay. That bridge literally, even though this is blue, not all of this is water. Russia literally connects right here. And there's a bridge right here. He says that they can use Harpoon missiles that have been newly supplied by the Danes, and they could use it to blow up the bridge. Now, I want to show you something because maybe some of the military experts here can tell us. Let me show you. I went and looked at exactly which missiles we sent. Actually, for the military men and women, I'll tell you. Thank you, StyleCat. The missiles that were sent exactly are reportedly the RGM-84L4 Harpoon Block 2. Okay? Now, what that has an 187-mile range, and I went and hopefully I've got this here. Oops, did I go? Hold on, I may have emailed it to myself. Let me see. But I went and I figured, the internet that has everything. I thought, you know what? There's got to be a website that can help me draw a 187-mile radius circle around a city. And of course, there are many of them. So I found it. Hang on, here we go. And I'm a little confused because what I'm finding here, oops, let me save this and then I'll show you. What I'm finding is the missile would have to be launched from well inland. Now, I know they can be launched from ground launchers. What I'm confused about is, can they go over land? Now, I want you to look at this because I'm going to show you guys first. Pretty much that entire territory is occupied by Russia until you get to the north and you see, hold on, you see Zaporizhia. Actually, I'm going to zoom in for you. Like where you see Zaporizhia, and then to the left, I'll say to the left of Zaporizhia. So closer to, was it Nikopol? So between Zaporizhia and Nikopol, that I believe is controlled by the Ukrainians. Can you actually shoot from there and go over land and then hit that target? Is that possible? Let me show you guys. So you see in the north where Zaporizhia is, that little bit sticking down between Zaporizhia and Nikopol, I'm pretty sure that's controlled by the Ukrainians, pretty sure. If it is, can you actually shoot from there and go all the way down to where the point is with the circle around it, where Kirch? I know it can go over water, but can you go over that much land? Now, Flatline Crack is saying yes. Chris Thane is saying land and sea ability, but target needs to be painted. I know that, but I guess my question, Smiling Free, thank you. Just to be precise about this, you can shoot from land, I know, because I've seen the launchers, but you can literally travel over land. Like this is the amount over half, almost, I would say 40% of the distance is over land. So this thing can go 50 miles over land, over 50 miles of land, and then go over water. That's the thing I didn't know. Because I thought it could launch from land, but I thought you had to be by the water, at least because it skims the water. Wow, so it actually can go up and over the land. Wow. Okay. That's interesting. I mean, that is my guess that's got to be where it's coming from because I'm not, and again, I'll show you guys again. I'm not sure where, actually, I'll show you there. You can see Kherson on the left too. I'm not sure what, maybe over by Kherson, there's a blip as well that's not occupied by the Russians. Okay, I'll show you guys too for those of you who know the area. So maybe there's some room there over by Kherson a little bit. But those would be the two areas. So pretty cool though. Now, of course, he's making the suggestion because he wants it to be, he wants them to do it and he wants the message to get to them. So I suspect the message will get to them. Praxis is saying it may depend on the terrain, if it's flatter land versus hilly or mountainous. Chris is saying if it's not ground hugging, it will not go up and down over every little hill. It will stay at the same altitude until target descent. Oh, it is not ground hugging. It will not go up and down over every hill. Okay, so you've got to make sure there's no hills in between, basically. Okay. Safer shot would be from Odessa's too far. Oh, yeah, no. Look at the map. I mean, I actually didn't even, I cropped out Odessa because Odessa is way over from there. I'd have to find you another map, but Odessa isn't even close to if that's the range, 187 miles. Odessa isn't even close. That's the problem. So, well, that's the other question, whether the launcher could get hit, whether they could move the launcher quickly. Obviously all of that's a concern, but that would be that'd be pretty amazing if they could pull it off. Let me just see any of the rest of you weighing in on this. Now, that's an interesting question from Elise. Elise says, I wonder if Breedlove would say something like this if it weren't cleared with the Joint Chiefs being America's top military officials, uniformed military officials. You gotta wonder, because these guys, these former generals, and especially former generals that were so high up like Breedlove, who were former NATO commanders, these guys are a big deal, right? There you go, Hard Apple. See, that's my boy. A nice regular message. Thank you, and thank you for the contribution as well. Thank you. But yeah, that Breedlove clearly talks with people back in the Pentagon, the highest levels of people, and one would hope he wouldn't be saying these things if his former colleagues really didn't want him to. And actually, Elise, it's entirely possible, that Breedlove is saying it because he was told to say it by the Pentagon. That the Pentagon didn't want to, although the only problem is the Pentagon could say, I guess, okay, here you go. If Ukraine didn't want to, if America wanted to be able to say, we are not suggesting targets, okay, then we don't want to tell the Ukrainians ourselves, hey, why don't you go after that bridge with the new weapon system you just got? We would have the Pentagon talk to one of their friends like Breedlove, thank you, Jesse, and say, hey, Breedlove, why don't you mention this, but don't mention I told you, so you're just a private citizen weighing in. So that is a definite possibility. Yep, definitely. Okay, Sky Queen has a question about Japan. We can do that real quick. Oh, sorry, one second. Let me just look here real quick with another comment about this weapon, and then we'll move on to Japan. Guidance is radar for harpoon, but I don't know if it's terrain following radar. I think newest harpoons have GPS guidance. This one I don't think is the newest. This I want to say is either 2009 or 2015 or something, maybe 2009. I'm not sure. So I'm not sure if it would count as the newest. All right, I'll move on to Sky Queen's question. Thank you, L. Every time I say L, I'm thinking of, Stranger Things. Do we have any idea why the shooter killed the former Prime Minister of Japan? I don't know if there's anything recent. Let me see. But we did not. Hold on. I'm going to say Abe killer motive. Let me look for that. Thank you, Bill Banks, for the hat. Oh, hold on. There was a story 2 hours ago. The alleged assassin who shot Shinzo Abe dead on Friday believed the former Japanese prime minister was involved. Oh, I did hear about this, in a specific organization, and that his grudge wasn't political. I don't think they said what. Yeah, police did not reveal the name of the organization or elaborate on what it meant. But adding, it wasn't clear if the group even existed. So it looks like, honestly, he was a little crazy, or he was a conspiracy theorist, that he believed that Abe, this is at least what we know so far, that it was believed that Abe was a member of some, secret group or God knows what, and the guy decided to kill him, which is really screwed up, but what do you do? I know Biden signed an executive order today on abortion as well. I didn't mention, I'm not up on it. I was focused on all this stuff, and then the Musk thing just happened to come in. I should have. I was on a call when he did it, and I totally spaced out about it. So I don't know what the latest is on that, or whether it's legitimate or not. All right, let me go. I've got a little more here. So that was the NATO commander weighing in. Okay, last couple stories. This is interesting, actually, because it suggests that Russia may be, we know they are having problems with manpower. Russian prisoners with combat experience. One of you raised this yesterday, actually. Russian prisoners with combat experience are reportedly being taken out of prison in Nizhny Novgorod and Mordovia to fight in Ukraine. So that's actually very interesting. And finally, finally, we've got a little bit of pushback. Thanks again, L, for that. We've got a little bit of pushback again against Russia, against the dissenters. This is actually pretty significant. A Moscow municipal councilor. I am going to guess that is a lawyer working for the city of Moscow, would be my guess. A municipal councilor, that's my guess, was sentenced to 7 years in prison for speaking out about the war in Ukraine. A Moscow court sentenced Alexei Gorinov, a municipal councilor of the Krasnozelsky district in Moscow, to 7 years in prison for disseminating knowingly false information about the Russian army. Wow. Wow, that's pretty bad. Wow. You're very welcome, Krishna. That's pretty bad. Wow. So there you go. That's what I've got for news today. Let's jump into the Q&A. Yeah, it's not late at all. This is good. We have good timing today. And we'll go from there. All right. I'm going to look at the Q&A on TikTok first. Where is this? TikTok Q&A. See if anybody jumped in here. I will answer this one. Actually, I talked about it last night, but happy to talk about it again. DM is asking, what do you think about Putin's statement that we haven't even started yet? Putin made a statement yesterday that was a statement that was akin to saying, not only we have only begun to fight, but basically saying we haven't even begun to do to you what we can and will do to you, right? And what I had said about it was, if he was an American president, he'd be removed for office from saying that, because you've got a 3-day war. It was supposed to be a 3-day war, right? That is now in its 5th month. And you've got the leader of the country saying, I haven't been trying for 5 months. I could have hit you harder, but I didn't, right? And I mean, he's not talking nukes. He's just saying, oh, we haven't even scratched the surface of what we've done so far is nothing. Then what you've done is you have sold out your own troops by sending them into battle, taking 5 months for a 3-day war, which clearly shows it's a disaster, and you're admitting you haven't really done anything that you could have done. Like, you didn't send the number of troops you could have sent. You didn't send the number of weapons you could have sent. You haven't done the number of bombings you could do. Then you should be run out of office for that. So it is, I think, a very weak statement. It shows that he's weak. Of course, he's bluffing again because it's what Putin does. But to me, it makes him sound incredibly weak. And I wish, thank you, Kanausi, I was saying, I wish somebody like Biden, except Biden isn't the kind of guy to do it, would say exactly what I said. Say, hey, did you hear what Putin just said? He hasn't begun to start. Really? Actually, all you need to do with Putin is say, so how's that 3-day war going, Vlad? And just kind of smile and walk off the stage. Oh, Putin would die. Putin would absolutely die. Yeah. Actually, there have been reports too. Actually, D-Man Stan is talking about them being out of bullets. There have been reports of that. Thank you. Exactly. Big Hawk. Totally relevant facepalm there. There have been some reports about that. I told you, I follow this guy, Dimitri, who I really like on, actually, I'll put this up in case anybody wants to, or I'll answer that in a second. Dimitri, who's this guy on Twitter I follow, who's very good. He's an Estonian of Ukrainian heritage or Russian heritage. He's got a very complicated family. I think the family's like Ukrainian, Russian, Estonian, but he lives in Britain right now. The translator, exactly. And he's amazing. And he has been taking the Ukrainian transcripts. The Ukrainians are putting out transcripts every day, practically, of intercepted communications of Russian soldiers calling back home. Dimitri goes and translates the transcripts or the actual audio, because they put the audio out, into English, into very good English. And it's been incredible reading these things. One of the ones I read the other day said just that. The guy was, actually, these guys were livid and saying how I don't know if this was Dimitri or if this was one of the Russian military bloggers. It might have been one of the Russian bloggers who basically said, these idiots are putting all the ammunition next to other ammunition and it's all getting blown up. And he goes, not only is it getting blown up, but they're putting like piles of ammunition together so that all you have to do is hit one of the piles and they all blow up. And apparently they were doing the same thing with, as an aside, doing the same thing with airplanes. They're putting their fighter jets like next to each other. So if you hit one, you blow up a couple, which all the military folks were weighing in and going like, the Russian army, the Russian military doesn't know this at this point. I mean, it's crazy. Now I will answer, actually Jingle Bells had asked, is that badge subscription SNN from you, John? Yes, it is. Well, it's from TikTok. I went to TikTok and got a pop-up about subscribing to it. Oh, that's interesting. That was TikTok doing the pop-up, but basically on TikTok, they've got a new feature where you can like subscribe to a channel. And honestly, it's just a way to support the channel financially. I think half them are a little more than half the money actually may go to TikTok, but like half the money goes to TikTok, half goes to the creator. I haven't seen yet how much. You get the little logo by your name, which is nice though, because it lets me know that you're supporting, which is nice. Thank you, Netlin, for that. And it gives you access to a couple custom emojis, but not that many. Like it only gave me like 8 or 10, I think, or 10, but that's what it is. So yeah, it's a nice, and actually as a thank you, I do try to keep an eye on those. So if people are commenting with those and I see it, I'll try to maybe pull that up, just as a thank you. So that's what it is. Okay. Yeah. So he's, thank you, Style Cat. He's he's M as in Mary, Dimitri, DMITRI, 91 on Twitter. So I'll say it again. M as in Mary, Dimitri. It's funny because in Greek, we would put more vowels in there. Dimitri. So M as in Mary, D as in David, M as in Mary, T as in Tom, RI, 91 on Twitter. And he's amazing. Very good. Very good. So there you go. That's okay, Lisa. It is not required. I appreciate you being here anyway. Let me see. Make sure I didn't miss anything. One moment. Hang on. Oh, Elise. Yeah, there we go. It was highlighted. I couldn't see it. What do you think Putin will do if and when more ammunition dumps are hit? And if the Kerch Bridge, which I talked about earlier, the Kerch Bridge is the bridge that connects this piece of Crimea, which the Russians are occupying. This piece of Crimea, which the Russians are occupying, to Russia, which is right here. Thank you. Who is that? Style Cat. Thank you. If the ammunition depots are hit and if the Kerch Bridge gets blown up, what would Putin do? It seems like this could cause him big problems among his major dudes at home. Yeah, I mean, it's a huge problem for resupplying. Also, it's a huge problem for resupplying Crimea if the Ukrainians go after Crimea. No, Putin's he'll freak out. He would send more, he'd send more cruise missiles. I mean, it to some degree, whenever Putin sends more cruise missiles, it reminds me a little bit of, the U.S. when we don't have good options and we just send in cruise missiles, I mean, I haven't talked about anything today on Boris Johnson. I don't know if there's anything new today. Is there anything really new today? Thank you, Netlin. But that's what we were saying. Yeah, Query. I was talking about that, about the harpoons. That Breedlove the general was saying that the harpoons could do a really good job on that bridge. Yeah. Let's hope. I hope to God they do. Clifford Wolf is saying a commentator said that the assassination of Abe is really an awakening to the fact that China will take Taiwan. Interesting. Abe strongly defended Taiwan, but for China lovers, they hated him. This is a global war against. Oh, it cut you off a little bit there. Well, it probably benefits them. No problem. Dream Rover. I'm not sure what we were talking about. The ammo is usable, but logistics is going to be hard. Maybe we're talking to somebody else. Yep, we talked about Abe earlier. Interesting. The New York Times is once again reporting that it's the U.S. giving the Ukrainians the location of the ammunition dumps. Good. That's good to hear. The Bojo news has been quiet. I know. That's what I thought. I was like, I haven't seen anything today. Okay, I did read that. I did read this. Raymond Ray. This gets a little esoteric, but Raymond Ray is saying the U.S. and the U.K. use pallets, I guess, to handle the ammunition. The Russians use boxes of wood that have to be manhandled. I was reading that. Somebody was talking about at each step of the way how you need men to move the ammunition from onto the train, off of the train, here, there. That it was crazy the amount of manpower you needed, and it was just one more example of how badly they are at the logistics. But the Russians apparently are famously bad at logistics over the years. All right, so we got that. All right. Oh, God, I'm yawning at you guys. I haven't yawned at you in a while. Sorry. Can Ukraine get Western missile batteries to Snake Island, forcing Russian ships out to sea? I mean, they can get the Western missile batteries to Snake Island. The problem becomes that they don't get bombed themselves. Snake Island is more or less where my finger is. Okay, more or less. So if you're out here, from shore, that gets you another 25 miles, maybe from shore, something like that. Maybe. I'm guessing, but maybe. So it gets you 25 miles further into all of this, which isn't a bad thing. Now, let's say you get there and you got the Harpoon missiles. Well, the Harpoon missiles can go 183 miles. So it just gets you further out there. The problem is Snake Island is small and it's unprotected. It is half a mile by a fifth of a mile. That's it. I mean, literally half a mile by a fifth of a mile. That's it. All of Snake Island. And it's flat, not flat, but more or less imagine it being like flat rock. So if you put one of your top weapon systems there, like either the Harpoons or even using, the Harpoons say, how are you gonna hide it? What are you gonna do? So I'm not quite sure they would want to do that. I think it would be because first of all, you'd shoot and then what would you do? You can't really hide. Do you try to load it onto a boat before the Russians bomb you? I think it would be too easy for the Russians to blow it up. That'd be my guess. No, this is funny, Vernon. This is a t-shirt my sister got me, and I stretched it over my old air conditioning filter that was finished. And I just clipped it on the back, and it is now a great map and it's actually a really good map of Ukraine. Like most of the major towns we talk about are there. So there you go. Let me see. All right, I will. Seen some stuff on Russia bombing the Go F Yourself Island. That's Snake Island. Exactly. I should have mentioned that's what Snake Island is. The Russia Go F Yourself Island. Saying lots of Ukrainian soldiers defunct. I doubt that. I did hear that the Ukrainians put up a flag, but then I heard that the flag got bombed by the Russians. I mean, just sort of this little tit for tat. I don't know. The AC filter is full of dust, but hey, this is what I do for you people. What do you want me to do? I've got the red one. It's actually due to be washed. I've got to do some wash, but yeah, the red one's here. In any case, I forgot what we're saying here. Oh yeah, was looking at the So I mean, I don't know. I didn't read anything about them killing any Ukrainian soldiers, to be honest. But the Ukrainians also aren't stupid. I think they can't afford to put a ton of people on that island because they will get bombed, So I doubt that's happening. Let me see here. Sorry, Cliff is weighing in on Abe. Clifford, Abe deeply supported Taiwan to the point that Japan would send troops. Wow. Many in Japan are horrified by this. Worst commentator said that Russia, China are intent on pushing USA out of the picture. Oh, worse. A commentator said that Russia, China are intent on pushing the USA out of the picture. Oh, I'm sure they would. Thank you, Johnny, by the way. I saw that out of the corner of my eye. Can I change? This is funny. It's in answer to the lighting question. I can make it other colors, but the blue looks best. I had tried red, and the red actually hurt my eyes. I was watching TV with red. It was annoying, but the blue ends up being the nicest color that actually it's the iPad shows it a little differently, but it was sort of the prettiest color that also didn't hurt my eyes. And I literally have it go on every night. I watch TV with it on because it just adds this nice little color to the room. It could do any color. I mean, hey, Google, make the shelf light red. Voila. Hey, Google, make the shelf light yellow. I said shelf right. Oop, it didn't hear me. Hey, Google, make the shelf light blue. Yeah, I prefer blue. Anyway, it's fun, but it made me happy because it really does. It makes it, and actually it looks even brighter on here. In person, it's a much deeper, like it looks very bright on YouTube. It's not that bright. It's a much more subdued, almost I will talk substance here in a minute, but it almost gives a very strong but subdued light coming up from the shelf. So it does this really green. People want me to do all these other colors. I'm not going to do other colors, but it gives this very strong, striking light coming, which is what's really neat. Because on YouTube, it makes it look like it's glowing everywhere. It doesn't actually look like that. It's very strong at the edge. It's really cool. It works. Those LED strip lights, this is my advice to you. The LED strip lights in general do very well in enclosed spaces. So like the back of your TV might work, like between the TV and the wall, right? Under furniture would look good. Like the shelf, because the shelf goes back a foot. That looks really good. But when I had it on top of my kitchen cabinets, because I've got 6 feet above my kitchen cabinets, I've got 12-foot ceilings, it looked horrible. Because above my kitchen cabinets, it was shining into the open air and it just looked diffuse and nasty. So anyway, that is my final suggestion for how to handle the lights if you ever get LED strip lights. You want them in an enclosed space because they look really good that way. All right, back to the news. I will keep looking here, but feel free to pose your questions there too. Sorry, Snake Island. Actually, hold on. I don't think you guys are posing a lot of Q&A questions. It's funny. It's really annoying, actually, because, God, there were before TikTok got rid of the Q&A function, I actually had to, we'll talk about the AC at the end. Before TikTok got rid of the Q&A function in my lives, I would get at least 100 questions. Now, I've got like 10 questions from you guys. It just sucks because it makes it so much harder to do this. I don't know why they got rid of it. TikTok, sometimes you surprise me. What would you say to people who say the U.S. should spend or shouldn't? What would you say to people who say the U.S. should not spend more on Ukraine than we spend on U.S. veterans? I would say a couple things. One, it's not mutually exclusive. It's not like the U.S. is saying, you know what? We would spend more on veterans, but gosh darn the Ukraine war, right? That's not happening. Biden spent $1 trillion on infrastructure overall. He tried to spend another $3 trillion with a T on infrastructure. The bill got killed. I mean, it was the Republicans and pretty much Joe Manchin, one Democrat and all the Republicans killed the bill. So, we were going to spend more on stuff in general, but it got killed by the Republicans and one Democrat. So that's my big response to them whenever they bring up anything about we should be spending it on America. I always say, yeah, we tried to spend it on America. $3 trillion, 3 with a T. And Republicans said, don't spend a cent. So there you go. Now, in this case, I would say we're going to have a lot more veterans if we don't stop Russia here in Ukraine. Because this is scary what's going on right now. This is really scary, and we are looking at another war. If they're not stopped here, they're gonna go in somewhere else. They're gonna go attack a NATO country or God knows, So, in any case, again, I'm not gonna. Obviously, we should be helping veterans anyway. Period. But that's the sort of the response is saying, oh. You mean there's a veterans bill that people aren't supporting and they've said it's because we're spending money on Ukraine? Really? That's not true. So, not to mention, America always finds money for military ventures. That's the other thing. And I would say, typically Republicans are the ones, not military ventures, but on military spending, it tends to be more people on the right than the left who want to spend it. And they're always willing to spend it when the money's not there. So, saying there's no money for Ukraine, there's always money. For war, there's always money. Doesn't mean there should be. Well, Nicole, if I see it here, you can ask right here. I don't mind trying to read them in the comments too. So, hello, Finland. Would they really attack a NATO country? I mean, in principle, they wouldn't attack a NATO country. But here's the thing. I think Russia potentially would attack a NATO country if Russia thought NATO wouldn't come to their aid. And what worries me is what if Russia thinks, excuse me, the West is so terrified of going to war with Putin. And Cole, I'm calling Chancellor Cole, listen to me. That's a blast for the past 30 years. Chancellor Scholz in Germany, President Macron in France, even Joe Biden. I think all three of them have made clear they're, terrified of going to war with Putin. They think Biden said repeatedly it would be World War III if we actually fight the Russians directly. World War III in at least American parlance. Actually, answer me this. In Britain, I assume in Britain it means the same thing. When you say World War III in American English, it means nuclear war. It doesn't mean the war that comes after World War II. World War III is a euphemism for the end of the world, right? So when Biden repeatedly said it would be World War III if we engage the Russians directly, that means Biden saying it'll be the end of the world. As I've said before, if I'm Vladimir Putin and I hear you saying that, I'm saying, so what you're telling me is there's almost nothing I could do that would cause you to enter the fight because you're afraid you're convinced it would be the end of the world. So I'll keep that in mind. And I made this argument at the very beginning. If that's your, and here, actually, let me just play a logic game with you all. Being a lawyer too, we like to sort of play with logic, take it to the extremes. If you think the US, NATO, engaging with the Russian, in other words, NATO's at war with Russia and the troops are fighting each other, if you think that would just per se lead to nuclear war, then why wouldn't you, if NATO invades Poland, if NATO invades Lithuania, if Putin invades Poland, Putin invades the Baltic states, Putin invades half of Europe, why wouldn't you say, you know what? Let's not go to war over this. Yeah, I don't like the idea of Putin taking half of Europe, but if we engage Putin, it's World War III and the end of the world. Isn't it better to give up half of Europe than to end the entire world? And this has been my problem from the beginning with this line of argument, because it's a crazy line of argument that puts you in a position where there's nothing Putin could do that you would respond to with war, because it would be the end of the world by your logic, and anything, giving him Alaska is better than the end of the world. So this is my problem. Let me see. Well, and as Jingle is saying, serious topic for your name. And if they do that, we might as well all bow down and let Russia run the world. Well, that's some of the problem we're getting into now. That's some of the problem we're getting into is the Canada caving is partially the Russia stuff. Turkey let go of the ship it had impounded. It had impounded a Russian ship that had stolen Ukrainian grain on it. Turkey let it go. They let it go yesterday after 4 days after they were going to make a decision. Clearly the Russians pounded them privately and got them to cave, Sorry, this was a very long way of answering the question. Do you really think Putin would invade NATO? I mean, no, because war with NATO would destroy Russia, because Russia isn't even really winning against Ukraine. They can't afford to add NATO to the mix. But if Putin thinks they're terrified of me, for example, okay, I won't invade, but what if I take a Swedish island? Maybe two. I don't know if Sweden has more than one. I know Gotland. I don't know if Sweden has more islands. What if I take a couple Swedish islands, right? What if I take some Lithuanian land? Not too much, a little bit, maybe a mile into Lithuania, right? Is it worth risking nuclear war for a mile of Lithuania? Anyway, this is the problem, but this is the problem you get, the logical problem of what is enough for NATO to say, yeah, it's worth going to war. And does Putin believe it? So, can you stay one more second? Just one more second. Thanks. Bye. You're blocked. The They do want that. Yes. Jennifer is talking about I always hate this. So is it Suwalky Gap? Damn it. I've got to Google it now. Is it Suwalky? I'm going to get it wrong. It is Suwalky. I got it right. The Suwalky Gap. Actually, I will show you this again. What they do want, what the Russians want is, we'll pull this up, Kaliningrad again. Kaliningrad. All right. The Russians want, I will show you this again because I've talked about it before. There is a province of Russia called Kaliningrad that is right between Lithuania and Poland. Look at that. Where that red dot is, you see the border, you see Lithuania on one side and Poland on the other. And that big landmass across is Sweden. Well, there's Copenhagen, but that's really Sweden up above. That's for you guys too. Once again, to remind you, that's Kaliningrad. And you see Poland below it and Lithuania above it. And then you see Belarus to the right. All right, so Belarus, whichever, to the right. Now, what the concern that NATO has is, look at the border area. Let me get really close. Look at that little bit of border between Lithuania and Poland. That little bit of shared border. That little shared border, here, there's Lithuania, there's Poland, and you see the itty bitty bit of shared border between them. That shared border is called the Suwalky Gap. And the concern is that what if the Russians come in and they come through Belarus and I still have to, somebody want to measure how long that border area is? So how far is it from Belarus to Kaliningrad? It looks like it's 50 miles or 75 miles, but Google it right now as we're talking. It is not a long distance. And the concern is the Russians race across Belarus. They take that land. It won't take them any time because literally they would just race across and they camp in. And then you've got a problem. Because again, would you risk, do we even have the troops to remove them from there? It's a problem. It also cuts off the Baltic states from the NATO countries below. It's a big concern. It's a big concern. And whether we've got the power to actually remove them, So did anybody look up Suwalky while we were talking, or the distance? It's that far, 500 kilometers? From the border of Kaliningrad to the border of Belarus? I'm surprised. That's like 300 miles. I believe you, but that's way more than I would have thought. Hold on, actually, I did have Google open. Let me look really quick. I'm being stupid. I've got Google right here. Let me look myself. I believe you, but I don't believe you. I mean, I believe you, but no, it's not that. It's not. I'm looking right at it right now. I'm looking right at it. It's 20, 40, 60, 80. It's 80 miles, maybe 100 miles. Yeah, or 40. I think it looks a little less than. I'm Googling it a lot. Well, it's funny you say that. 10, 20, 30. I'm going to say 50 miles. You're right. It could be 40 or no, it's not. It's 40 or 50 miles. Yeah, you're right. That's interesting. Yeah. So it's just a 40 or 50 mile stretch. And the concern is they plow right in, So, Well, that's a good question, Eric. Eric is asking from Paris, why don't those two countries, Poland and Lithuania, secure that strip of land in advance? It's a good question. Now, I don't know what securing it means. I mean, for example, I doubt they want to lay landmines between Poland and Lithuania, right? Because there's lots of commerce going back and forth. So you don't really want to do that. What would you do, though? I mean, again, I don't know if any of the military folks here can say. My guess is we probably already have military people there, or NATO does, NATO troops. And, well, Felix, let me tell you, Felix, this is interesting. Felix says, we have enough NATO troops stationed in Poland to kick them out in hours. I spoke with a former NATO defense minister right before the war started. A former NATO defense minister who should know that region well. And he told me that he had real concerns whether NATO would be able to push them out. So that I was surprised hearing that. Now, I would be curious if today, after everything we've witnessed, in how bad the Russian army is, and frankly, the Russian army is also worn down, whether we still think it would be hard to push them out or not. But his concern was NATO, Russia may not have tanks, but neither does NATO. That NATO had a hell of a lot more tanks than they used to have, and they don't have a lot now compared to what they did because the Cold War was over. We no longer had to worry about Russia coming in and invading and coming across. That one I remember. That was the Fulda Gap. I remember that one. Russia coming across Eastern Europe and into West Germany, right? We no longer had to worry about that. So NATO started to, the Germans, everybody started to have fewer tanks. So, sorry. What did you say, hoping I'd see? Sorry. Oh, here you go. There are several brigades from Poland and Lithuania training in the area there. Okay, that's good. Now Mikey's saying, okay. I didn't see it. I see now that I saw you saying you'd hope I'd see it. So, yeah, that's good. That's good. Now, okay, I was wondering about that. NATO countries don't lay mines anymore. I was wondering about that because of the treaty or whatever, except for the US in between North and South Korea. So is that true? Do we not lay mines anymore anyway? I was wondering when that came up, whether that was the case. What else we got here while we're waiting for that? The U.S. has sent troops to Poland, yes. Overall, we upped our military commitment in Europe from 80,000 to 100,000, so 20,000 more troops. Thank you, Mike Webb. We also have moved troops forward into Poland. So in other words, some of the most recent announcements were adding some new command thing and other stuff. I think basically beefing up the troops that are there, which might mean moving some of the troops, like whether they're in Germany, we move them over. But I know this is interesting. So Mario is saying, over 5,000 NATO soldiers are in Lithuania near the Suwalky Gap. There are active howitzers of the German army as well as anti-aircraft weapons. Okay, that's good. That's good. Well, hopefully, I do know it's a concern. And it always surprised me because I was like, I had your guys' question. I was like, why is everybody so worried about the gap? Can't we defend it? Can't we take them? Are tanks really effective nowadays? Ask the military folks here. All I know is when that discussion comes up, the military folks push back and go, come on. Tanks are not obsolete yet. I think we've learned that drones are the new kings of the war, or whatever you want to call it, right? But that doesn't mean tanks won't be needed. Because a drone doesn't let you take over territory, though. Even artillery. You blow it up, but then you've got to move in. I'm assuming when you move in, you use tanks. I'm guessing, right? What else would you use? So tanks are effective for some things, but Russia's using them poorly. Ukraine's been doing very well. Now, thank you, Sergeant Kabuto. I've been reading that the drones are becoming less effective, like the Bayraktar, because the Russians have gotten better at jamming and some other things they're doing. So, but it may depend where and all of that. NATO members cannot deploy anti-personnel mines. Verified. Okay, thank you, poli-sci history guy? Thank you. That's good to know. Okay. There you go. Now, Kanowski explained it best. Seems like tanks are actually okay unless a Russian's driving one. I think that's what we're seeing. And you guys over here are saying they said tanks were outdated since. Felix says they've been saying tanks were outdated since tanks were used for the first time in World War I. Chris is saying tank is effective when it's parked up in place. Aircraft have to be on station, and they cannot be there all the time and go back and refuel. All right. David, they are effective, but a logistical nightmare. They use a ton of fuel and do not move a lot of troops. Now, yes, what I had asked a military friend of mine who told me that you've got to refuel a tank every day or two. A tank has to be refueled. So, I mean, right, as you're moving forward, it's not like you're stopping at a gas station. You have to bring the fuel with you. The fuel, it's not fun. Yeah, it's not fun. Actually, I think NATO's more important than ever, John Michael. I disagree. This war has shown how important NATO is. And actually, I would say NATO has been very effective. I wish we would do more for the Ukrainians. Thank you, Motek. I wish we'd do more for the Ukrainians, but, yeah. Yep. Tanks need infantry protection, which is why they can't be used solo. Okay, tanks are worthless on their own. In combination with air and other powers, they're still there. Okay. Tanks are used for their firepower. From experience, if you have air dominant and tank, they help a lot, especially in soft southern lands. Okay, if you have air dominance, though, which the Russians don't have. I always get a kick out of like when you guys weigh in with these details. It's always very interesting. Finland, soon NATO. We have, hello, Tarma. And thank you for subscribing. We have 250,000 reserves in Finland, plus 30,000 active members, 900,000 overall soldiers. Okay. Interesting. All right. Military guys, doesn't it seem like all that is... actually, Elise has a question for the military folks. Doesn't it seem like all that is needed to fight Russia is missile defense? Their ground troops and tanks seem bad. That's interesting. Kherson region, what are you writing here about? I'm reading more here. Russia has air supremacy, but not dominance, right? Hopefully we get them a lot more air defense systems. Tarmo is right on that. All right. You still need good boots on the ground. You have to have air superiority or air never shows up. Russian officers do not exist. Their tactics have been strictly third world. Well, that's, yeah. Russia does have an overabundance of artillery. We know that. Iraq showed how effective the RPG, the rocket-propelled grenade, is against Western tanks. Interesting. Artillery is the problem. Yes, that's where Russia dominates. That is correct. In Iraq, that was the problem with American tanks, says Chris. That was the problem with American tanks compared to the British. The Americans have very fast gas-tuned engines and needed to refuel twice as often. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. All right. Yeah, let me jump into the questions. All right. I will look. Hold on. Hang on. What are you? I'm trying to see here. Oops, not that. Try that again. Sorry, I'm looking at the questions on TikTok here now. With all the missiles Russia is using, it seems their supplies would be dwindling. And any country supplying them with aid? I don't think military aid. I had read a while ago that Russia had used up like half of its cruise missiles. The problem is they've got, like you're saying, a ton of artillery. So the cruise missiles, they've been using a lot, but they may still have several hundred left. But I don't know. But the artillery, they've got a ton of artillery. The question is, the Ukrainians have been blowing it up. Thank you, Kanausi. They've been blowing it up in the theater so that the Russians haven't had artillery to use, but they've got a ton of artillery left. And it's also, that's an ongoing problem and they don't mind blowing the hell out of these cities and just killing everybody, killing all the civilians. I should have said turbine. Okay. Very fast gas turbine engines. Okay. Interesting. Okay. All right. Let me see what else we got here. Thank you, Verna. Do you think China's supplying arms to Russia? Well, I would think if China were supplying arms to Russia, you'd think the U.S. would know. And if we knew, you'd think we would call China out. Unless, well, first of all, I think we would go to China privately and say, stop that, right? So if they were still doing it, I would think the U.S. would try to embarrass them publicly, I would think. But who knows? Who knows? You know? Do you think the U.S. could send Patriot batteries? Well, the only thing with the Patriots is I don't know whether the Patriots are still a weapon system that we're afraid of getting into the hands of the Russians. It might be. Is it still? I thought I read that we're still worried about that, so that we wouldn't want to do that. Now, Anatoly Deep is saying 60 HIMARS can stop Russia, which are the medium-range rocket systems that we provided, or maybe we provided medium-range shells, or is maybe more to the point. I did see experts were saying 50 to 100. Where the Western experts were saying 50 to 100 was the number that they thought that Ukrainians would need of the medium range rockets. You know, the ones that we provided 4 and then 8 and now 12, although they're not there yet. I think they've got 4 from us so far. But it would be nice if we'd give them 50. But I just don't like this. What bothers me, here's the thing that bothers me, okay? I will say this, because also we're at 7:15, so I'm gonna call it quits on this, and then we'll just hang out a little bit. But I don't like this. Biden initially provided 4. And then a month later, he provided 4 more. And now 3 weeks later or 2.5 weeks later, we're providing 4 more. What the fuck? I mean, what is that? What is that? I mean, the U.S. can send what it wants. Is somebody stopping us from sending them? Is it like Europe said, oh my God, don't send any, you better wait, and we were trying to be nice to the Europeans? But like, what the hell was it that we're spreading it out like that? It feels like the same bullshit incrementalism crap that Biden's been doing from the beginning, where, you know, again, we don't want to give Ukraine too much, you know, give them the goddamn weapon systems. What's the problem? But we're going to give them every 3 weeks. We're going to say, here's 2 more. What is that? I just don't, I can't think of a logical reason for that. You know, I think it is a proxy war. But it's also a direct war as well. It's multiple things at once. You know, I think so. But it pisses me off. It just pisses me off. You know, they do need Israel's Iron Dome. Yes, that's for sure. Let me see. I'm just looking at more comments from you guys. Well, that actually, Mario's correct on this one. China already, thank you, Poppy, for that. Mario writes, China already helped Russia. They delivered cheap tires for the Russian trucks. That actually is true. The Russians, like, their tires are falling off because the tires have gone bad. And if you think of rubber and how, like, rubber and plastic through time becomes hard and brittle and falls apart, well, imagine what happens when it's a tank that happens to. And that's what's been happening. Not a tank, excuse me, but Russian fighting vehicles and things like that have wheels, and the Russian trucks. And that's what's been happening. The Chinese tires have been like breaking apart. It's been very funny. It's like, haha. Oops, just see what else here. Well, Ray, I mean, I've seen, actually, let's get into this issue, and this will be the last one I do, because it's 7:17. I'm still trying to preserve my voice here. It's doing decently today, but it's still a bit raspy. Ray is saying the number of launchers isn't the problem, isn't the issue. I had seen somebody on Twitter say this, I mean, a military guy say this on Twitter last night, that the number of launchers isn't the problem, isn't the issue. The issue is, yep, I'll do the recap. The issue is the number of, ordnance, the number of shells, the number of weapons, the number of bullets, in essence, that we send them, okay, for the gun, so to speak. And my question for that is, okay, but if literally they've only got 9 in the country right now, couldn't they do a lot more damage with more than 9? Because how quickly can you move 9 around, right? I mean, you're fighting in one area, but like, I mean, I don't know. It feels like that's not enough. It just feels like, is that really going to be enough to have for, I don't know. I mean, again, I guess I don't know how you use them. Like whether, do you usually fire one on its ordnance? Thank you. Ordnance. Thank you, Jacob. Do you usually fire one on its own? Or do you prefer to fire 2 and 3 together? Maybe not together because you don't want them blown up together, but 2 or 3 nearby-ish going after the same targets. Or do you not do that? Or do you not? I don't know. Anyway, see if you got more to say on that, Ray. I'd be interested. Right. 6 loads of, a pod is a 6 load of rockets. So I'm just seeing what else folks are saying here. HIMARS are very mobile, shoot and move rapidly. That's good. That's good. I mean, I know you can fire one by itself. I mean, I know that. I was just curious if and I'm sure you wouldn't put them too close together because you don't want them blown up. But I was wondering, typically, might you have 2 or 3 you're using together-ish so that you're going after tanks and a command center and I don't know, whatever the hell you go after? Or do you typically just have one, like near Kherson? Would you typically just have one of these? Or would you want to have 4 or 5? Right? That's what you would deploy them in pairs. Okay, that's my question, Will. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Netlin, for that. And I did see the little cactus. Hold on. Oh, Kanowski, that was you. Thank you. Okay, so that's it. Right. 6 rockets per pod or 1 to 2 missiles per pod. Okay. Okay. So, all right. That's interesting, Ray. Takes 5 minutes. Oh, now that I know. It takes 5 minutes to reload and fire again. Yeah. And what the Russians have takes like an hour to reload and fire, I believe. 5 minutes for these guys to reload, and they can keep moving, and they can move way before time that the Russians are able to take them out. Because it takes the Russians like an hour to get their artillery set up. You move these guys, and they've already moved, and then the Russians have lost their chance to fire at them. So it's a huge deal. U.S. unit moves in groups, so it could be 2 or 4, says Jay Vargas. I mean, 4 or 5, Cam says 4 or 5 would be better if you had the actual numbers you need, but they probably use 1 or 2. Okay. Okay. They can move pretty fast. Okay. The only issue is having them cover the whole front. Okay. A U.S. division has 9. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Well, again, like I was saying, the analysis I was seeing, I forgot where it was, but was saying Western experts said they needed 50 to 100. The Ukrainians are saying 200 to 300, but the Ukrainians have to ask for more. I get that. Thank you, Netlin. But the Western experts supposedly were saying 50 to 100. So that I was curious about, that you guys feel like less is enough or fewer is enough. The latest package are 4. Correct. I did mention that Raggedy Man, that they're getting 4 more of the systems, and they're also getting GPS guided ordnance or whatever for the M777 artillery howitzer, if I'm right. So that's a deal too. Okay, let me do a recap, and then we can still keep chatting a little bit if you want. I'm not going to go too much longer. Our sort of the top story that was just breaking. Oh, hey, Cam. Okay, glad you're back. Yep, I'm feeling the throat's pretty good. It's a little raspy, but it's not terrible. Elon Musk pulled out of the Twitter deal. And again, I'm only giving you the headlines here because that's how we do the recap. Chairman, obviously, the former Prime Minister Abe of Japan was assassinated. New Pew poll shows 61% of Republicans think the insurrection was, quote, a legitimate protest. The Zelensky told Wolf Blitzer last night in an interview, CNN's Wolf Blitzer, that the Ukrainians would not consider giving up land in exchange for a peace deal. The Russians have instituted an operational pause, but it's a little confusing how that works. Thank you, Netlin, because it does not mean they're not attacking, but it probably means they're attacking less. They're attacking less in terms of their troops actually attacking. They're still going to be, manpower. They're still going to be sending artillery. They're still going to be sending cruise missiles, things like that. That's not going to slow down. Oh yeah, thanks, Mario. Thanks, Mario. That's cute. As we just said that Mario or somebody else reminded us, I forget, the U.S. is sending 4 more HIMARS, which are the medium-range rocket systems we've been talking about that are very important, bringing the total promised by the U.S. to 12. And Biden, in a first, has decided to provide precision-guided shells for the M777 155-millimeter howitzers. Canada has caved, and they're giving the Russian gas company the turbine that they've been wanting in exchange for loosening gas supplies to Europe. In occupied Kherson in Ukraine, a collaborator was killed. This has been an ongoing theme in Kherson that they've been taking out the collaborators. The Ukrainians, just some examples of the ammunition equipment, ammunition depots or dumps that the Ukrainians have been taking out with these medium-range rockets. They hit a Russian ammunition depot on July 8th. They killed a number of troops and, that's all I got for that. Killed a number of troops. And partisans blew up railways near Melitopol on July 7th. So that would be yesterday. And on July 3rd and on July 2nd, they derailed, they blew up a railway bridge on July 7th. They blew up another rail bridge on July 3rd, and they derailed a Russian armored train carrying ammunition on July 2nd, all near Melitopol, which is occupied by the Russians. Ex-NATO Commander General Breedlove suggested that the Ukrainians use the new Harpoon missiles they've received to attack the Kirch bridge between Crimea and the Russian mainland. And I showed a map questioning how you would do that if it has a 187-mile range, or whether you would have to do it from deep in Ukrainian territory. And some of the experts weighed in and said, yeah, you actually could do that. It could go 50 miles over land and then the rest over the sea or whatever, which is pretty cool. Russia is using prisoners with combat experience. They're reportedly being taken out of prisons in Nizhny Novgorod and Mordovia to fight in Ukraine. The Luhansk Oblast governor, which is in the east, said that I didn't mention this to you guys, said that around 80% of the residential buildings I think this is Severodonetsk. Or Lysychansk. Shoot, I'm forgetting now which one this was. This might have been Lysychansk, but basically 80% of the residential buildings in the Russian-occupied city have been destroyed or damaged. And Russian troops continue to loot the homes of the locals, of course. And a Moscow municipal councilor was sentenced to 7 years in prison for speaking out about the war. Now, I did have one last little thing I wanted to show. It was a funny cartoon pic that I was showing. I don't know if I was showing, who was I showing this to? I don't think I was showing Syndicate. Who was I showing? But it made me chuckle because when I first saw the cartoon, I didn't fully get it because I didn't look closely enough. Hold on. If I can find it. Oh, here we go. I didn't look closely enough. Look closely at the televisions themselves. And here's you guys. I thought that was funny, but I didn't initially get it at first because I was like, I was paying attention to the color of the screen and not the fact that they were like old TV, newer TV. Thank you. I think have a good weekend. Have a good night. Anyway, all right, guys, enough of that. We can we'll hang a couple minutes more, but that's it. Hang a couple more minutes and that's it because I want to give the voice a rest. And since tomorrow we're doing 2 p.m. Eastern as always, so my next show is half a day away and not a day away. Well, ish. Sasha's doing great. She's doing great. I I've got her up on a little over half real food right now. Thank you, Tay Maddie. So she's been doing well, thank God. So the attacks on the ammo depots, first order is you destroy ammo. Second order is you push new depots further back, making it harder to supply the front. Oh, that's interesting. And I'd heard somebody talk about then you start going after fuel, is what I'd read people talking about. But that I see, that's very interesting. Okay, that's actually very smart. Okay, so what Raymond is saying is you start blowing up their ammunition depots, and then they're forced to move the ammunition depots further back to get out of range. But once they're further out of range, then they've got to deliver the ammunition by truck and all that kind of crazy stuff, piecemeal, which then allows you to take out the convoys and things like that. So, yeah, so it's harder to resupply folks, which is great. I would not eat horse meat. No, that would gross me out. I like horses. Although when I met a goat, it kind of started bothering me too, because the goat was like a dog, and all of a sudden, as Greeks, we do like our goat. And I was thinking, oh God, I haven't made any bread recently. I've still got enough of my bread in the freezer that I made. I usually make like 2 loaves at a time and then slice it and freeze it. Sasha has been, chicken and rice was Sasha's dish when she's sick. So she's still getting that, but I've cut it in half now, and half of what she eats now is her real food. So she's been getting half of her real food, a little bit more. Pigs, I'm told, are smarter than dogs. Miss Mickey's saying pigs are really sweet. I've heard they're smarter than dogs, which also would freak me out. And then I saw a video somebody put up of their cow being really friendly, and I was like, oh God, stop this. Even cows have personalities. Please make it stop. I'm just not a vegetarian. I just can't be a vegetarian. But it's still, as I get older, that stuff is freaking me out a little bit more, I will admit. So, oops. We talked about the Japanese prime minister. We definitely talked about that. I was ahead of Mom. I don't know what I'm doing about dinner. I don't really have too much here for dinner. I may do like my poor man's dinner and make farina or something. We call it farina, cream of wheat. I've got to see what I've got. I don't know if I'm in the mood to do much. So once I'm done with you guys, I just want to eat, Yeah, no, knock on wood. I've been very glad. She's been doing very well, thank God. So Sasha, my dog. Like I said, that goat. My friend's goat in France was the nicest freaking that thing. He's like, oh, you got to meet the goat. I'm like, are they friendly? He's like, oh my God. We come up first. It's behind the fence or whatever. And it's looking at me and the tail's going crazy. And I'm like, this thing like knows me. He goes, oh, they love to be pet. So I go in there. This thing couldn't have been happier that I was petting it. The happiest animal on the planet. And the whole time I'm petting him, I'm just going, oh God, like, we eat you and we really like it. And this thing was a dog. This thing could have been a dog. It was that enthusiastic. It was amazing. Yeah, absolutely amazing. So cream of wheat like porridge? Maybe. Because I've never know what porridge is, but my guess is it's like porridge. Octopus, I know. I love octopus. That creeps me out too. I know. Hell, like in 100 years, we're going to find out that plants are smart, and then we're all going to starve. Although maybe then we make everything artificial at that point, I mean, goat is delicious on the spit, but man, cows are dogs too. No, no. Oh God. Sorry, Nicole, I looked in the thing and I couldn't figure out which one was yours. I was trying to figure it out. Sorry about that. I'll look again right now. Well, hold on. I'll look again right now really quick. But I did look earlier and I couldn't, because I was looking at your icon, because it doesn't tell me the names initially. It's a pain. Again, TikTok, wouldn't it be nice to show the names? You think that might help alongside the questions? But let me look one more time. I have to look at your image and then look at the image, although the images here are much smaller. Hang on. So it's a circle. It's like a little circle in an image. I don't think it's this one. No. See, it's not that one. This, I'm not seeing it. The only thing would be like if, no, I'm not seeing it, Nicole. That's the thing is I'm not seeing the question. I'm wondering if it made it in there. Unless you're seeing it, but I'm not. Sorry about that. Yeah, we'll try tomorrow. I'm sorry. Cows are dogs too. Don't even. Curry goat. I'm a viral researcher, and plants also remember and react to past events, whether we applied. Oh God, plants remember. Stop. Well, I mean, I will say, like, I'm very good at plants. I've got, you guys can see, I'm a plant man. I mean, as far as my plants here, you can't really, you're sort of on a bad angle for seeing them, and I grow them well, and it always kind of makes me wonder, it always makes me wonder about how, what's going on there, because why am I better at growing plants? I mean, is it really just a matter of paying attention to how you water them? Maybe it is, but I wonder about that sometimes. I'm just very good at, my mom is too. I'm very good at growing plants. Always have been. I mean, I've shown you guys my African violets. They're like, my African violets always grow great, but all my plants do. But I kind of wonder if they know it, if they like me. Moose burger. I may have had moose burger in Alaska. That I don't remember. I may have. Oh, that's interesting. Oh God. Chris Thane's son's school had a lamb come to visit them. Oh God. And he was devastated to find out that his dad had made lamb chops for dinner. Oh God. Imagine. Absolutely imagine. She's not, only if she's out and about. Sasha's been, I think she's still sleeping a little more lately. I mean, she wants to play, but no. She's in my bedroom right now. I don't want to kind of make her get up. She's in my bedroom right now, kind of sleeping. I think she's been sleeping. I mean, she still plays. She still wanted to play all week, but I think she's sleeping a touch more since she was sick. But I just don't like to get her up if she's sleeping, since she's old now, 12 and a half, but still hanging on there. True, Marky Mark, but still. Oh, and lamb is wonderful, but oh my, could you imagine the kid though? That had to be like, I mean, having said that, like, it is interesting for the kids to meet animals. I think that's a good thing. But you do run into a little dilemma when you meet a lamb, and a lamb is the sweetest thing ever. First of all, lambs are cute too, right? So like the beautiful little fur and the whole everything, and then dad made them for dinner. And I'm sure Chris's comment was probably, it's not the same lamb. I'm going to guess that's what you told the kid. Oh, exactly. Hot Pockets. I'm with you, Thomas. The thing is, like, after I get the show done, I'm just hungry. The Discord syndicate has already been doing a lot of it. I think he's going to finish it possibly this weekend. So we're almost there. I'm almost 100% decided on the categories and what you get and everything else. Like I said, it's not totally easy to figure out, but hopefully soon. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know, Dina, what it is with the plant thing. I mean, I do think watering is weird. It's hard. Caprese is wonderful. Yeah, watering plants definitely is a trick. I mean, you've got to know how to do it. Wow, your terrier mix is 20 years old. Wow. I don't know, Miss Mickey. I've got to do more with the Substack actually, but I don't know. I mean, it's different, first of all, because the Patreon, but the Patreon is only the way that people are paying for the Discord. You can link the two. So the Patreon will be linked to the Discord. It'll be the way you pay for the Discord. I won't be writing on Patreon. It's not going to be that. All right. Yeah. All right, guys. I'm going to go. My voice is doing well. I'm going to keep it going well. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern time, US. That's New York City time, 8 p.m. Paris, or 2000 Paris time. We will be doing this again. And I join you then, yeah? Puppy's doing, oh, wait. I did hear movement. Let's see. There was a shaking in the force. I could hear her collar go. Small dogs do live longer. Yeah. Thank you, Dan. Yeah. She's not coming in yet. I also think she learned that like around this time, this time of night. Thank you, Canalze. She learned that this time of night, I grab her and take her to the TV, and she hates that. She hates getting picked up, which is funny. It's just one, I can do it, but she still doesn't like it. She'll let me do it. I mean, she's not going to bite me, but she doesn't love it. It's funny. She's funny that way. All right, guys. Okay. You guys, good night. And you